breakfast at Calais.
That's my stuff.
Yeah, it was kind of nice to make that recently.
Hi, girl.
Hi, Kevin.
Wait, hi, Mr. Ferguson. How are you?
Easy. Hi, Terry. Did I do something wrong?
No, not today. No, you're good. You are good.
Some trees and some guy came out and gave my son a big box of wood chips.
Where's ours?
He gave me this stuff. Next meeting, what do you want? Blueberry lemon?
Can't have the push keys. I just look at them and give you 10 pounds. I like them, but
He never even said anything like, hey, this guy, like, I said that.
you just came home with them and was eating them or what?
All right, everybody, we're going to get started here in just a minute. Before we do a little housekeeping. As you know, we have a conduct policy. I want to clear something up too. Our conduct policy, as far as the 3 minutes for public comment, they have,
Sorry.
Meeting hasn't started.
the public comment is for both public hearings and public comment time. So it is 3 minutes time, and I apologize if I made a miscommunication on that in the past. So just wanted to clear that up. So apologize for any inconvenience that
Is
has.
a public hearing tonight?
No.
I don't understand what you're saying.
So what I said is that our public comment policy for 3 minutes applies both to public hearing time and to public comment time.
You know what you said.
I just cleared that up. So, those that are recording the meeting tonight, please record in the designated area in the back. You'll be given 3 minutes for public comment. We have a timer that we put up here. So when you get about 15 seconds left, wrap it up, you'll hear a buzzer. Then when you hear the buzzer, public comment is over and return to your seat. At public comment, please come up to the front of the board, address the board because that's who you're making the public comment to. And we'll get started here in just a minute. Thank you all for coming.
Anybody wants to copy it? There's 4 right here if you want copies.
Are you recording the meeting this evening?
Yes.
Would you please go to the designated area that's provided?
No, thank you.
So are you refusing to follow the policy that's the board has adopted for recording?
Well, your policy is asking.
I'm asking you a question. Are you
I'm responding to your
refusing?
question.
Are you refusing to follow the policy that was drafted by the board?
Would you like me to give you an answer?
Yes or no?
The answer is I am not impeding exits, nor am I blocking anybody's vision, which is the intent.
That's a
of the
statement.
policy.
I asked, do you plan on following the policy that was adopted by the board? Yes or no? No comment? All right, I'll call the meeting to order. Please join me in reciting the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. You may be seated. Madam Clerk, may I have a roll call vote, please?
Sure. Zach Tucker,
Here.
Kurt Schultz,
Here.
Jennifer Eden. Here. Mike Cunningham,
Here.
David Blocker's absent, Herman Ferguson,
Here.
Pam Moffett, here.
Okay, a couple of changes to the agenda. Item number 3, we're going to pull off. We're going to discuss that in item number 4. So we'll just pull that off. And then we need to add item number 9, a resolution to establish the guidelines for poverty exemptions. No, that's number 9. Number 8 is 3.
Oh, okay, you read it. Okay.
Now that we've got those noted, can I get a motion?
Move we approve the agenda with the changes. Support.
It's been motioned and supported to approve the agenda with changes. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed? Motion carries. Next is approval of the consent agenda, the regular board meeting minutes from December 19th, 2023, the treasurer's report, December 31st, 2023, clerk's warrants and bills, January 31st, 2024.
So moved. Support.
It's been motioned and supported to approve the consent agenda as presented. Any further discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed? That motion carries. Communications, we have 3 items. We have the Planning Commission approved meeting minutes, November 14th, 2023, the Planning Commission meeting synopsis, January 9th, 2024, and the Livingston County Sheriff's Report, December 31st, 2023.
Move we approve. Support.
It's been motioned and supported to receive and place communications on file. Any further discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed? You have time ready? Okay. Public remarks. If you have any public comments, please come up to the front. You can either have a seat or stand there and address the board. You'll have 3 minutes to make a public comment.
Good evening, Don Pites, Carmel Road. Correct me if I'm wrong on any of this about the sewer REUs and such, please. As I understand it, we were given a certain amount of REUs based on the users when the sewer went in. And that included a certain amount of gallons per user. So, and I also understand they aren't all being used, but recently, and I don't know when it was, there was a reassessment done on the total usage of material going into the sewer, which is considerably less than what was allocated for each REU. So there's been a reassessment, and we've discovered some more REUs. So I know we want to talk about maybe selling some of these, and perhaps selling them to another township. My feeling is that if we want to offer somebody to develop something in our township, I think we should maybe consider a discounted rate. But if we're going to sell them to another township, and I don't know how many, and how many we're going to use, how many are left, that should be made public. I don't think we should sell them at a discount. Because in the future, and maybe way in the future, maybe near the future, what if we ever had to buy them back? And we sold them at a discount. Now, I don't think there'd be any strings on if we sold them at a discount to another township, so they could then raise that price. I don't know. But I certainly wouldn't want to see that happen, because, as I understand, it's Heartland Township. Yeah, they're in trouble. They don't have enough. But maybe we could sell them some, but how many would that be? How many should we reserve? These are all things we should take into consideration, because I'm also believing that the sewer facility just south of Clyde there has to do some treatment prior to sending it up to Genesee County's processing unit. That could really raise all prices, certainly sewer O&M. So again, I don't think we should be selling them at a discount to an outside township, but if we do have somebody who wants to buy quite a few of them, I think we might want to consider a discount, but what would that be? So something to consider. Please do, and let us know what we have today, what we're looking at moving, but I don't think we should sell them at a discount, because people in the township that have had to buy them, that's not going to be real equitable that we offer a discount to another township. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Next.
Kim Farquharson, Deer Park Corner. If we have something of value, I never think we should sell it for a discount here or elsewhere. Anyway, Lois and Jim Spohr asked me to read this. It's with regard to your budget planning. They say, "Dear Tyrone Township board members and planning commission members, the planning commission and the community of Tyrone have devoted significant time, effort, and thought into updating Tyrone Township's master plan. Looking to the past, attention to a Parks and Rec component has a long history in our township. In 1999, Tyrone Township completed a Parks and Rec master plan, which recommended creating a Parks and Rec board and acquiring land to develop new rec facility or amenities. Nothing ever came of this. More than a decade later, the 2012 master plan addressed ways to ensure adequate and appropriate recreational opportunities. However, those strategies have remained ideals since then, with little action toward meeting these goals. Similar content appears in the present draft of our updated master plan. It's time to turn words into action. Residents have spoken in surveys and visioning sessions for preserving natural areas and for supporting both public and private recreation. Since budget decisions are being made soon for the upcoming year, it's appropriate to respond actively to these desires of the residents. We encourage you to be intentional in supporting the goals and objectives and to set aside funding to transform words into action. Now is the time to be proactive, dedicate a portion of our financial resources to preserving and creating recreational opportunities in Tyrone Township. If money were to be allocated and available, the township would be in a position to begin a purposeful course toward actively preserving natural areas and creating trails and parks. Now is the time to fund the important component of the master plan and fulfill the desires and intentions of the residents of Tyrone. Thank you, Jim and Lois Spohr. Thanks.
Leaky comments? Anyone else?
These trees that are gonna get trimmed, are they in the easement that the power line's running, or the opposite side? You got, I see in the agenda, you got something about trimming trees?
We'll talk about that when we get there. So
If I can't ask a question, then,
it's public comment,
okay,
but it'll be addressed.
all right. Anyways, Mike, you know, I come in here, I've been coming to these meetings for a long time. Never in my years have I ever had a deputy sheriff here. And it just seems like everything just gets tense and tense, and there's non-transparency. It's like nobody wants to give us an answer. I come here to get answers. I know I can come talk to you. I know, fine. I don't want a one-on-one, because I found out in my 66 years, I come to you, you tell me something, she can come to you, you'll tell her something, he can come to you, it could be three different things. I've learned that from my lifetime. I've had to get it in the public forum so we know and hold our representatives accountable. Okay, so here we are today. Yeah, I'm tired of the bicker. I don't want to bicker with anybody. I don't want anybody else to bicker with the people up here, but they have a right to bicker to a certain extent. So maybe, but you know, like I said, it's a tit for tat back and forth, and we just keep adding on to this thing. Pretty much we're going to be the one where we can't even walk in the door. So, I mean, but let me ask you this. Do you public officials have a code of conduct? Because I don't see it. We don't add it on you. And I brought up issues with what you do, Mike. You know, you fish, you look for sponsors, and I congratulate you on you do a fine job fishing. And it's a hobby. But when you cross it with taking donations, I think it's an ethic problem. And I noticed the other day, there was another reach out to the public for more money. You want more sponsors, and you said you have something to offer for them, private message me. You know, I see that, and as an elected official, it bothers me. It really bothers me. Because if I come to you and get a little, I can't prove that you're doing it, but I mean, I don't think you're doing it, but what if you are? What does it make me feel like when you're putting that out there? Because I see some things going on around here that aren't getting addressed. If someone's sliding some cash under the table to help you sponsor, it's not trackable. I don't know. It's not a saying you're doing it, but to me, any official that's elected, it's a conflict. You want us to live by rules? I think there's conflict rules out there also. And it's the way it looks, Mike. And it's anybody up here. You know, I mean, if you want the public to act a certain way, then our officials need to act a certain way.
Thank you for your comments. Anyone else?
My name's Jeanette, I live in Tyrone Township and I represent myself. The first item on the agenda I comment on is that you guys just approved the meeting minutes for the Planning Commission on November 14th. And we have here sitting Mr. Schultz, who also sits on the commission, so he knows exactly what I'm going to speak about. These meeting minutes are not adequate as they pertain to the utility scale solar facility. It says there was a discussion about health, safety, and environmental concerns. No, there were decisions made regarding what would go in that solar ordinance, and those decisions were not clear, but they did lead to revisions in the solar ordinance. It was a almost 2.5 hour meeting of total confusion, and I cannot get a straight answer from anybody on what those decisions were, but I see the solar ordinance has been changed. So I asked the board if they would tell me what those decisions were. I got nothing, and now I know why. It's because of it being a confusing meeting. They did not know what they were deciding. So because changes were made based on that meeting, that means that decisions were made after the meeting without the public's knowledge. These minutes need to be redone with somebody listening to the actual meeting and capturing it correctly. By approving them tonight, and because Kurt Schultz has been informed by what I just told you all, in fact, he nominated to approve them, you are knowingly allowing a government document to be presented to the public as true when you've been informed that it's false. The next thing that I'll comment on is the synopsis for January 9th PC meeting. You should know that the Tyrone Party Store submitted a site plan amendment. The owner sits on the Planning Commission. While he did recuse himself from voting, he actively participated in the conversation by answering questions posed by the Planning Commission as he sat in his elected position up at the board. And what I've always seen done is they are released to the public, and if there's questions for them, they come up and they act as if they are a resident. According to laws regarding conflicts of interest, individuals with vested interests are required to completely abstain from all discussions in which they have a vested interest. This raises concerns as to the ability of the Planning Commission to do its work properly with impartiality and adherence to regulatory guidelines. It makes us wonder what other laws are being ignored. And then I've got 38 seconds left. Number 2 on the agenda, the pre-budget budget discussion. Why is it this year that we don't get to see this pre-budget? Every year as I look back, the pre-budget discussion shows the budget in there. And I'm just wondering if all the board members have seen the pre-budget before they came to the meeting tonight. So again, we don't get a chance to comment on it. We get to hear you guys deliberate about it. We don't get to say anything until after maybe you've even voted on something. This is the lack of transparency that we've been asking for, that is not happening in this township, and we're wondering why. Board members, you all have one vote.
Thank you for your comments.
You all have a say.
Thank you for your comments. Anyone else? Being there none, we'll move on to unfinished business. REU bulk discussion purchase. We talked about this at a previous meeting, and we agreed that we would start trying to figure out how we wanted to approach this. So I kind of put some figures down and offered a discount. I'm sure there's more layers to this onion that we're going to have to peel back. Also, too, are we going to entertain? We also have a payment deferment option defined in our ordinance. Would we also entertain any type of additional financing options for large purchases? And I think that if we do enter any agreement, that there's also a buyback provision that should be included in it. So if we sold somebody REUs for, let's say we sold them for $8,000, that they should, if they are unused, we could buy them back from them at $8,000. I think that would only be a fair thing to do. So for the start of the conversation, I put down You know, if you buy 5 RUs, 5 to 10 RUs, it's a $500 discount, 11 to 25, 1,000, 25 to 50, 1,500, 1,500, or 50 to 100 is 2,000, and then 100 plus would be $3,000. I don't know if, you know, what you guys want to think of that, how you want to add to it. Do you think that's fair? Do we want to change that around? What are your guys' thoughts on it?
So this would be the rate for anybody, as I understand it. So there's no distinction in the ordinance between, you know, a resident purchaser versus an outside purchaser. Am I right about that?
Right.
Okay, that's what I thought. What is the,
The township board has the, you know, they can say who they want to sell them to.
okay,
And right now, we've only sold to our residents. We haven't sold to anybody outside.
okay.
Sure. Go ahead.
So, we did originally have 4,762 RUs, and that was at a rate of 315 gallons. Over the years, it has been decided that we're only using 210 gallons per resident household
On the average.
on the average. So they recalculated that, so 105 is your difference, multiplied by the 4,762 RUs that we had, brings it to 500,010, and then you divide that by the 210 gallons that we're currently using, and it gives an additional 2,381 RUs. So total 143 RUs that we have total. To put that in perspective, we have just under 4,400 parcels in Tyrone Township. So we have one, at least one, possibly two for every parcel that's here. And as you all know, or most of you should know, the sewer line is only in a small area of that.
And a lot of those parcels already have RUs bought, purchased, and allocated for.
Right. So right now we have about 1,680 RUs in use. I would say another 300 allocated that are not being used. So roughly like 2,000 of the 143
So that's
are only being
more
used.
than 5,100 RUs just sitting there.
Yep. That is correct. I do agree that if we discount them for anyone, we have to do it for all because you can't discriminate. It doesn't matter who you sell them to. If the board is going to approve that we discount them, then it has to be to any entity. I don't think we should be in that business of discriminating against who's purchasing them.
Well, technically, the only other people outside of residents of our township or businesses of our township would be the Livingston sewer septic receiving station, the drain commissioner's office, or Heartland Township. They're the only other ones that would have access to it.
I'll finish my little thing. I don't think we should discount them for small amount of RUs, my personal opinion, but I don't see a problem anything 100 or more RUs for anybody. If someone comes in and wants to put a business, I don't know, hotel, apartments, senior living, and they need 100 plus RUs. I don't personally, hospital, see a reason why we couldn't discount those. Reason being is, ours are so high, they're 14,500, so it gives them a incentive. Okay, I want to build an apartment complex or a senior living. 23 corridor, there's quite a few space that we could do that on. But, you know, at 14,500, that's huge money for a contractor to come up with, just to hook to the sewer. And it's required in the sewer district, so they don't have a chance to say, no, I just want to build a septic station.
Well, I don't know if I agree with the apartments, but,
Well, whatever.
if you have like a large
I think we
home
need to
development that wanted to
senior
come in,
living
or,
would be
and also too, a lot of the new stuff is multi-use complexes where they'll come in and they'll build small strip mall, a large retail box, possibly a grocery store, a couple of shops, some restaurants, and then they'll build a bunch of houses around that.
Do we know when the debt is paid? I've been searching and I can't figure it out. When the debt is paid, what we do with that 14.5 when we collect it? Because it is debt.
That's a bond council. I would think we'd have to ask our bond council on that.
So in reality, down the line, well, in 38, the bonds will be paid. We may have to reduce them anyways because
We may.
we may not be able to collect on it. Unless infrastructure or something needs to be replaced, then yes, but
Okay, well, that's something we can look at and get the answer on that, but, you know, to move this forward and keep the working document, how do we want to discount these REUs?
This is per REU, I'm assuming the
Yes.
dollar numbers on here. Okay,
that's a discounted amount.
Okay.
I mean, do we want to start at, 5 to 10? Do we want to go 50 to 100? Do we want to go 100 plus? Any thoughts? Don't all speak over each other now.
I think I remember this from the last meeting, so you'll have to forgive my poor memory, but we're high compared to the surrounding townships in
Yes.
terms of pricing, right?
Yes, I think Heartland sells it for $9,500.
Yeah, they're 95. I believe,
Okay.
now.
So when Heartland or somebody else buys REUs from us, are they selling them at their current price or what they are getting them from us? So for example, in the situation, ours are 14.5. If Heartland's are 9.95, they're taking, and they are getting a $3,000 discount on it for each REU, then those are still costing more than their current cost. for
Yeah,
our township.
I don't think that they would. I don't see Heartland actually really wanting to buy any because they're tapped out and they did say they're not interested in expanding anymore because it's going to be a huge investment to do so.
Because
Because of the pump stations and stuff. that they
Yeah,
have.
because looking at the cost of our REUs, I'm just wondering if another entity like Heartland or someplace else, pick another township that might want to buy some, would actually be purchasing them. Because they can't sell them, they would be selling them at a loss if they were under our
I think
cost.
it's more specifically Livingston County Drain Commissioner's Office or the SRS would be the ones that would be buying them because they do need REUs.
Okay.
There's no denying, and they were actually the ones that started the conversation with us.
So selling the REUs helps us to reduce our
Debt.
sewer debt, correct?
Right, it also brings O&M and replacement money to the fund. And also too, it's probably been, 6 years now since we haven't been loaning money. But we loaned quite a bit of money, us current residents, to the sewer system to make the bond payment to the tune of $2.5 million. So by selling some of these REUs, we can start recouping that money. And, $2.5 million, that does a lot of road.
Yeah.
Does a lot of road. So,
But the discounts are basically for bulk purchases.
sure.
Yes.
Then I guess I would probably be looking at, say, 50 or more REUs for discounts,
Okay.
just as a suggestion.
So do you want to go do you want to break it out in groups and have different levels, or do you just want to go 50 or more, a certain dollar amount, or do you want to go 50 to 100, 100 to 200, 200 to 300?
Yeah, I would do something like that.
I mean, and to what extent do we need to discount it to move them to? Because I like the idea of paying it paying off the bonds,
Yeah.
and you're recovering the money.
I don't think we want to go too far over 500 at this point,
Yeah.
so.
And we could put a provision in there, discount it up to 500 in sales. Would you do that?
To do what?
To discount only up to the first 500 sold? Or you want to keep discounting them, but
I would say the
Only
500 would be the,
max?
Right.
so what if we did a $1,000 discount on 50 to 100, $1,500 discount from 200 to 300, a $300 from 300 to 400?
100, between 100 and 200.
Yeah, or 100 to 200
Okay.
would be 1,500. Then 200 to 300 would be 2,000.
Should we set a maximum on the number of REUs we'd be willing to sell all in total?
Right, that's what I was getting at.
Then go 300 to 500, 3,000. What was that? What was the question?
Should we set a maximum amount on the number of REUs we'd be willing to sell,
To
period,
outside
in total?
entities. I think that would be a good idea. We could always the board could revisit it in 5, 10 years if.
Well, if we sold 800 of them, I don't think it would hurt us at all.
I mean, because we could set a number and always change it if we
Right.
decide.
Sure. And set the ceiling at that.
But it's always better to put a top on it and then have to move it a little bit than it is to try
Sure.
to cut it off
Have
after
it
the fact.
open-ended.
Yeah.
And what about doing any special financing options? Or can we, we can set the rates for now. And, we'll bring it as a resolution to our next meeting.
Yeah.
And then we could put the caveat in there that if somebody offers us a proposal, we can entertain it on a case-by-case basis.
Yeah.
For special financing or whatever.
Yeah. And then put cap on the total number of REUs we want to.
And you could have the discount be, I don't know, you may not, for the bigger ones, you may not want to eliminate it completely if somebody's paying in cash, but cash is certainly better. And so, you could use that as an incentive, I guess.
Well, I mean,
So,
500 REU is quite a bit of money.
Yeah,
That would.
And it,
and realistically, can they come up with that much money? Yeah, I don't know, probably not.
well, we have them finance them, but I wouldn't want to go more than like a 5-year term on those.
Yeah,
They have to make some steep payments.
yeah.
And then they would pay us the interest rate on it, so we'd actually make money on the back end anyway.
And if they don't make the payments, I'm probably getting way ahead of where we need to be, but if they don't make the payments, we get the REUs back, is that
Yeah.
the concept?
Definitely.
And put a lien on them, just like a car. We'll
Yeah.
pull your
Right.
REUs.
Right.
All right, so let's go for that. Any other comments or?
So that'll come back as a resolution, though.
Or decision.
Yeah, I don't know if it has to be a resolution, but at least, some motion will have to be made.
Okay.
All right, cool. So that's it for unfinished business. We'll move to new business, the meeting date resolution. Every year we have to approve our resolution for our meeting dates. Over the past few years, we've typically only generally met one day a month. Just the business isn't there. I have no problem with keeping the schedule, but I just wanted to see if you guys wanted to talk about maybe just having one meeting a month. And if somebody had something that they wanted to do that was in a hurry, they could pay for a special meeting.
To me, I think it's easier to have them scheduled and then cancel them than it is to,
I don't disagree with that at all.
I have no problem with that process. It works
Right.
fine from my
Yeah.
perspective. So,
That would save the residents from paying that special meeting.
Well, it's usually not the residents that do it, it's usually a developer or something that wants something. I don't think I've ever had a resident, I think
Well-
maybe one time a resident did that, but, yeah. All right, just I mentioned it anyway.
I will make a resolution to adopt this as written.
support.
It's been resolved and supported to adopt our meeting schedule as presented. Any further discussion? Madam Clerk, may I have a roll call vote, please?
Sure. Vern Ferguson,
Yes.
Mike Cunningham,
Yes.
Jennifer Eden,
Yes.
Kurt Schultz,
Yes.
Zach Tucker,
Yes.
David Walker's absent, Pam Mochler, yes.
Thank you. That resolution passes. Item number 2 is our 2024 pre-budget discussion. As we're getting ready to start our budgeting process, we always have a meeting about things that we want to include on our budget before we bring a draft budget to the board, like we always do every year. Does anybody have anything that we need to include in this year's budget? I have a few things. First of all, roads. We have done a tremendous amount of road paving in the last few years, and the north end of our township, north of Center Road's gotten a lot of love. But they have most of the paved roads. We are going to do the rest of White Lake Road this year. So from Heartland Road all the way out past the herb farm there to the county line is going to get repaved. And then White Lake from US 23 to Bennett Lake Road is going to get paved. So I don't know, that's probably 4 miles. So that's all going to get repaved. That was grant money from the state that our state rep, I worked with Mike Mueller, and he got that passed through the budget. So the Livingston County Road Commission has already received the funds from the state on that. So we thank Mike Mueller for his efforts, and that's much appreciated. But as far as roads this year, I was thinking that we could finish putting gravel on Denton Hill Road, not Denton Hill Road, Mabley Hill Road. We had gone from Center Road to Germany Road, and I'd like to do Germany Road all the way to Holforth, which is to the Heartland Township line. There's some trees that need to come out of there so we can widen that road a little bit, because it does pitch down to 1 lane. And I'm not going to include the tree cutting on that in this part of the roads, because usually we get a quote for the trees with the roads. I was going to use right-of-way funds this year because we have a lot of right-of-way funds, so we need to use some of them. So I figured we'd just use the right-of-way funds this year, and that'll keep more money in our road fund. So the other road that I wanted to do, and I was approached by Heartland Township on it. There's a section of partial road between Bullard Road and Heartland Road, and they want to limestone it and split the cost with us. We'll do our side of trees, they'll do their side of trees, and I'm not sure what the total amount is. I'm probably thinking it's going to be, somewhere between, for the two of them, 100,000, maybe 200,000. I doubt that much, but I don't know what the current rates are. So once I get those, I'll let the board know, and then we'll get them included in the budget. But those are what I wanted to do as far as roads. We had budgeted money for sidewalks, but with the actual moving of the old township hall, we kind of held off on that. I'm thinking that we're probably going to hold off on that till next year, once we get that all remodeled and we get the bricks in the ground over there, and probably gonna have some concrete work that's added into that, so we'll just do it all at the same time. What do we need to do for elections? I know our whole election thing has changed. Is there anything that we need to include in the budget for elections?
Yes. So as many of you are aware, the clerk's statutory duties have significantly increased due to Proposal 22-2. With that being said, I'm requesting a one-year salary increase above the rate of pay for the elected officials, which directly relates to that 9 days and management of the permanent mail list of voters. So at a minimum, what we're looking at for the clerk working is an extra 203 hours. Just so far in January, I worked 45 extra hours beyond business hours, our regular 9 to 5. So the estimated increase, it would range between $6,260 and $6,500 with an extra 203 hours added to my schedule for 3 elections. So that's what I'm looking at to include in my budget for elections.
Yeah, that new election law definitely gave the clerks the shaft, didn't it? They work a lot of hours. It's a whole new undertaking, 6 days of early voting.
9 days.
9 days.
9 days.
9 days.
So that election precinct, it's operated as a precinct. Just on those 9 days, that's 27 extra days of administrating a precinct, which I will be doing that will be held at the Township Hall in conjunction with your regular election day processes. So it's greatly increased in terms of duties and times.
And what about the cost of postage?
The cost of postage, the township pays, we are now with Proposal 22-2, we must pay for postage for return postage on absentee applications, absentee ballots. So you have 2 mailings that are going out that the postage to send them out is what the township's paying. The state is covering through a permit the return postage to us.
So I'm guessing that's gone up since they just increased the cost of stamps to begin with.
Yes, a drastic increase. Right now, we have a little over 4,000 individuals that have requested absentee ballots. So we have a lot of mailings going out, so our postage has increased as well.
Yeah, I just wanted to make sure we got enough coverage there for.
Right.
Yes, we do. And the need for more election inspectors has also increased, with that 9 days
Right.
to cover that for people each day, so. Yeah.
The only other thing I can think of right now that we need to address is we put in a new parking lot and it needs to be sealed, so we need to maintain that. So I'll just get a rough number to get put into the budget for that and seal the parking lot. I think when they seal it, we're gonna have to restripe it as well, so.
Probably.
So those 2 things will need to be done. As far as all the HVAC stuff, everything in the building's in good shape. We replaced all that stuff. Other than, our basic general maintenance, I don't see any additional expenses there, so. So I'll make sure those things get included. Can anybody think of anything else that we need to add into our budget this year?
The townhouse.
Yeah. Yeah, and we'll talk about the townhouse. That'll be included in the budget. Actually, we can talk about it, we'll still talk about it. I'd like to put 30,000 into our building and maintenance for the old historic townhouse repair for the coming year. And then we'll talk about what's going to be going on with that. There's several things that need to be done there to get that thing restored and back into great condition again. So we'll talk about that, but I'm going to include 30K into our budget for that. Anything else for budget? All right, so we'll get that included and we'll get a draft work up here pretty soon. All right, moving on to item number 4, because we strike number 3, is the historic townhouse repair discussion. We had a schedule that was kind of put together by the planning, or by the Historical Society. Some of the key things that we need to address this year is the electrical. The electrical in the building's absolutely shot. So we've got engineered plans for that. We have money in our building and maintenance fund, and I'd like to actually get the electrical going right away. Because it's time sensitive, because they have a grant for some of the interior work, and the electric work needs to get done in order to do that. They have a certain amount of time on it. It's for their wainscot. So they definitely, it's better to try and get that stuff done, or at least in the works if you're going to ask for an extension, and hopefully they won't have to ask for that. But that's one of the things I'd like to get going this year. The other thing too is it's going to need insulation, and it's also going to need a roof. So that's what we're going to work on getting done in this coming year. So, and then we'll finish up everything the following year, but those are the key things that really need to get done right away. Any other comments about the historic townhouse before we move on? Actually, I shared that document with you guys today that Sarah had sent over, so.
Should we have they have collected?
Yeah, why don't you go ahead and mention that?
I'll get my glasses. Just, Sarah provided us with their budget and their amounts, and they have actually some, let's see, hold on, sorry. So their townhouse project, they've given us what they have on hand, and we're not funding all of the repairs, so everybody knows. Cash on hand, they have about $27,000 that they're putting of their own money into it. The cost prediction is not the 30 that we're going to put on our budget, but just in case we need it, it's there. But they have done a great job, still,
Yes.
getting money and getting sponsors and doing, I can't think of the name of what those grants, and doing the grants and stuff. So just so everybody knows that they're contributing a lot more. So, thank you.
Yep, thanks, Jen. Moving on, we'll move on to item number 5, the right-of-way tree removal and trimming. As you know, we get money for right-of-way improvements, and we've allocated that money to tree trimming. And we select areas where trees have tendency to fall into the road, and it's helped cut down our fire runs. So that's kind of been how we've done this ever since we received this money. It was in 2011 when we first started receiving it. So we have money in that fund right now. Total amounts $45,000. I have the roads that we discussed that we want to gravel. We go ahead and do the tree cutting out of that fund. Germany Road to Holtforth is a few days worth of work, so it'd be $17,500. And then on Partial Road, from Heartland Road to Bullard Road is $5,250 for a total of $22,750. And that's money that was given to us by the state. And we have a fund balance of $45,899, and we get about 15 grand a year from the state on that. So we'll get next year's money as well, so we'll still have plenty of money in that fund. But, so I want to ask the board to go ahead and approve this tree trunk trimming for the right-of-way fund.
We already have estimates for that.
What?
You already have estimates for that?
Yeah, we have, we contracted with Ronald's Tree Service
Okay.
because they gave us a deal, so. Yeah. So can I get a motion for the approval?
Motion, make motion.
Okay. Second.
Support.
It's been motioned and supported to allocate $22,750 for the right-of-way tree cutting on Germany Road and Partial Road. Any further discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed, that motion carries. Next is item number 6, MMTA training for the treasurer and the deputy treasurer. As you know, the treasurer goes to all these trainings, keep up with all the advancements in the law. It's something that we budget for every year, and we want to send our treasurer and deputy treasurer there.
So moved.
Support.
It's been motioned and supported to send the deputy and deputy treasurer to MMA training. Any further discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed? That motion carries. Next is the PEG fund request. Jen, do you want to talk about that?
Yep. So every year we have PEG funding requests from the schools, which includes Fenton area schools, Lake Fenton, Heartland, and also Linden schools. We have a new FACT PEG coordinator, which goes to all the schools and works within them to figure out what equipment they're using, what is obsolete, what do they need new. Their programs, as we know, education is always changing. So the board, the FACT board has approved these ones. We did eliminate some of the things that we deemed not educational purposes. So Tyrone Township's total for these are $71,518. Now these are for it's coming out of a specialized, or not a specialized, but a fund is allocated only to that. So it's your charter, your...
Which you pay on your cable television
Spectrum,
bill.
yeah.
It's your
Spectrum.
PEG fees that they collect.
Right, so they collect them, they have to send us checks quarterly, and then that goes into this fund, and it can only be allocated for the schools. And also, I want to note that Southern Lakes did not ask for anything, and the PEG coordinator did not ask for anything this year either. Just in case some of you have a question on the Heartland schools, Tyrone Township, we cover all of theirs, and then we pay, because they're solely in our township. The fund originally did Fenton, Lake Fenton, and Linden schools, which are the Genesee County, they call them. But the past treasurer brought in Heartland to also be a part of that group. And we fund theirs 100%, and then we pay less for the other school, 3 schools. So just in case you're wondering why our amount on there. That amount of $52,000 will about wipe out
What's
what they
allocated for
have
them.
allocated, and they do understand that.
And they also receive money from Heartland Township as well.
So,
Make a motion to approve.
Support.
It's been motioned and supported to approve the PEG fund request for the schools. Any further discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed? That motion carries. Moving on to number 9, disorderly conduct ordinance. This goes in conjunction with our code of conduct for public meetings. It was recommended that we, by our legal counsel, that we actually have this in ordinance form. And this is the ordinance that was drafted. These take effect after 30 days of being voted in. Is there any comments or questions about it? So then I'll entertain the motion for it.
So moved.
Do I have support?
I'll support.
Okay. Been motioned and supported to approve the ordinance for disorderly conduct. Madam Clerk, may I have a roll call vote on this, please?
Yes. David Walker's absent. Kurt Schultz,
Yes.
Herman Ferguson,
Yes.
Zach Tucker,
Yes.
Mike Cunningham,
Yes.
Jennifer Eden,
Yes.
Pam Mochler, yes.
All right, thank you. That resolution passes. Or that ordinance passes. Next is a resolution to establish the guidelines for poverty exemptions. We have to do this every year for Board of Review. It's pretty much the same thing that we pass every year, and this is something that we're statutorily required to do.
So resolved.
Support.
It's been resolved and supported to establish the guidelines for poverty exemptions for 2024. Any further discussion? Madam Clerk, may I have a roll call vote, please?
Yes. David Walker is absent. Kurt Schultz,
Yes.
Herman Ferguson,
Yes.
Zach Tucker,
Yes.
Mike Cunningham,
Yes.
Jennifer Eden,
Yes.
Pam Mochler, yes.
Yep. So that concludes new business. We have no miscellaneous business. Before we adjourn, public remarks.
Einstein's not here before. So, a little bit on the REU thing and sewer debt, but someone mentioned, well, what do we do with the money when the debt is gone, which is in the future? Pay back the general fund.
Whoa. I missed past that. That,
Which
I
we
consider
loaned.
that.
Well, that'll be a while,
Yeah.
because we loaned the sewer debt a lot of money. O&M increases about every year for everybody. Generally, when you have more volume, prices go down. So if we're gonna sell some REUs, the way, what's been happening, it may continue to increase our O&M by a lot more. So we should find out before we enact this sale of REUs. So that means you gotta find out what that facility needs, which they've expanded it, because people are, septic companies from outside the township are using that facility. And they pay, I understand. But we should find out what's gonna happen to the sewer. A lot of blight. There's certain properties, there's a junkyard. We all know it. It's on Denton Hill Road. And I've heard over the years, well, he's been in court, he's sick, well, this. Now he's put up a fence. What is going on, and when are we gonna get rid of that thing? And there's a couple other parcels. There's one that guy's making progress on getting rid of this material on 23. But that place, I can't believe the neighbors aren't in here every day. Just trying to close that thing down. There's no more excuses for this. Please, let's take care of that once and for all. There's no permit for that. I have a question, and I'll take the answer later. How do we get a speed limit lowered? I'm talking about Karma Road, which is all residential. The road's not in great shape, we know, but speed's crazy. Now, what I am to understand is the police, someone does a survey, and then they peg the speed to whatever people are driving. We can't live with that. We just can't live with it. So Karma should be 35, not 40. Then maybe people will slow it down to 45. So how do we get that done? I'll take an answer later. But I'd like to propose that we do that for Karma Road. Because it's a shortcut to get to White Lake Road 23. A lot of people are walking that road. There's no shoulder. So I'd like to propose getting that speed limit lowered. Thank you.
Time's up already? Scott Dietrich, White Lake Road. My comments weren't to attack earlier, just to let you know. That's how I feel. The reason I wanted to get an answer on the roads, and I didn't get the answer that I was looking for, you're thinking easement on both sides. Utility easements. Okay, if it's anything like my road, you go down the road, everything's hanging on the wires anyway. Okay, those have to be maintained by the utility companies, which they're not. If we gotta go through and clean those out, it adds more cost because you're dealing with wires. So if there's trees there with the wires, we should have utility companies go in and get their stuff out of the way first to save us money. See, that's why we have to have some kind of interaction with these meetings, because none of you brought that up. Okay, we got another issue. And this is the thing I was trying to tell you earlier, is what goes on, and just, you wonder what's going on. It's Peabody. You guys, nobody in here went after them, you guys did. It was not summer, the summer before. You guys reined them in and said, what are we gonna do? They went to the planning commission approved, they told us what they're gonna do, they were supposed to come to the board before last winter. This is the second winter, and they still haven't conformed to what planning commission presented, or the board's never even approved it. They just keep adding things on down there. You know, like I said, I was for it, I'm not against it, but they keep adding on things. And my biggest problem now is the weather. And I'm an ice fisherman, if anybody goes out on the ice, our ice is crap. And you got tons of ice up there in the wires. And he's saying he's gonna open back up here in a couple weeks. And there's still ice there, and that ice is very, very porous. And I'm really worried about safety with our weather in Michigan nowadays, when you got tons of ice up there, tons. That stuff breaks loose. You got little kids or adults underneath, I don't care who they are. They come down and kill somebody. And I'm really concerned about that. And I think it's fun, okay, it's good to a certain extent, but our biggest problem is safety with the community. And I feel, I used to live on Harlan and Foley there. And I feel for the residents there, the more he gets bigger, the more he keeps adding on. He hasn't been approved for. I mean, those people are gonna get tired of all the additional traffic, I'm sure. We see it on the roads every day. So my time's almost up. So, but thank you, and thanks for what you guys did with the townhouse. Everybody's working good together, thank you.
Thanks for your comments. Anyone else?
Frank Hurd in Deerfield. Thank you very much for your discussion on the RIUs and everything else, as well as the public's comments on. There's a lot of valid things in there, and I want to make sure that everything's done fair and right and just by everyone. So I just want to say thank you all for your time. A lot of our comments that you look at, and appreciate it.
Thank you for your comments. Anyone else?
Chris, Tyrone Township. So here we have a new ordinance now to penalize the residents for not disrupting the meeting, for not blocking the exits, and not doing anything while they're recording. So that's what you've really done, because it says right there on the screen that failure to comply with what you, Mr. Cunningham, have called a ceremonial resolution is now punishable by some particular penalty, law breaking, things like that. That's what you guys just voted for. I hope you know that. You probably, maybe you didn't even read that before the meeting, but that's what you just voted for. That's how you feel about the residents. That is exactly why I stand up here and tell you and share with you about your attitude toward people just exercising their civil rights according to the Open Meetings Act. The Open Meetings Act. That's an actual law in the state of Michigan, right? So I hope you'll take a serious consideration to making sure that your ceremonial resolution is actually in line and complies with the Open Meetings Act law. That's real key. And I pointed out many things in the past meeting that you don't comply with. For example, you can't relegate someone to a portion of this room that doesn't have the proper audio to hear not only this board, but the commentators up here. So you can't do that. That's like saying go out in the parking lot, which is in essence against the Open Meeting Act, about complying with ability to residents to record meetings in public forum. So I'd be very, very careful about not considering, or I'd absolutely encourage you to considering revising your ceremonial resolution in order to, until you start with, but it's completely a ploy. I see it. I think everybody here sees what it's all about, is to try to punish the residents. It's punitive. That's what it is. It's punitive. So I'm not the only one who sees it. I hope you guys see it. You just voted for it. Because if there's a lawsuit brought against you for violating the Opens Meeting Act, it's going to be all of you because you all signed it. Okay? All of you are held responsible. That's what you're bringing to the table with the residents of Tyrone Township. That's what you want to do to separate and divide yourselves from the residents of Tyrone Township. I hope you feel good about that. It's a terrible thing you're doing. It's absolutely disgusting. But that's what you want to do because you all have an attitude toward the residents. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Anyone else?
Jeanette from Tyrone Township. I don't even have time to read through what I have here. And I think I might make a little video, so if anyone's interested, I know none of you are, but anybody listening, I'll be going over every point that was made tonight. But I'll tell you what, I gave you a handout to the board, and I asked you to please look at these items, and you all got an email several days ago about the wind ordinance. And I'm really disappointed. You're supposed to protect the residents. You're supposed to protect them. And you all have a vote up here. And he says, no miscellaneous business. Why does he get to say no miscellaneous business? You're all part of the board. Did you not see anything on that handout that might have been miscellaneous business? And for example, the wind ordinance. I sent an email to you Sunday evening and I respectfully asked, would you please add it to the agenda? And if you're not going to add it to the agenda, would you say why? Did you guys not even see that email? Does nobody read my emails? I can't get an answer. I have a list of emails and they're all very simple, asking questions, and nobody will answer me. I could not even get confirmation on where the draft document is for the master plan because it was the wrong document. It was redlined and was under the heading of being the distribution document. Nobody would tell me where it was. It's not right. So if I treat it this way, you guys can treat anybody this way. It's not fair. So again, planning commission members, I'm just reminding you that you have a vote. And you should stand up to what we all know is the bully in the room. Why is the sheriff at these meetings? He's not at the ZBA meeting, but he's at every meeting that I go to. If I'm not being targeted, which I feel like I'm being targeted, and I feel intimidated, and if you're going to tell me that no, that's not the reason, then I want to know, why is the sheriff here? Why is it so dangerous that we need the sheriff here? I want to know why I should be worried about the danger in this room. So tell me why he's here. This is not right. Board members, I'm not even going to finish this. I'm so disappointed in you all. I really am. But I'll tell you what, there is an election here, and it shows with Mr. Cunningham and what he's doing with this township, the old town hall. And I'm glad that he's finally putting some money into it, but I'll put together a few videos and you'll see how he has fought this every step of the way, and now he's doing it, trying to get reelected.
Thank you for your comment. The other public
And
remarks?
it's funny, right?
Being none, we'll go ahead and entertain the motion to adjourn.
Yes, sir. I got one comment.
Did you have?
Yeah.
Yep.
If you don't mind before we close. I am glad that I got the code of conduct was printed out. I actually took a few notes.
because I did see that there's a new ordinance. I guess first question is, yeah, what would be the fine or penalty, or what would be associated with violating such ordinance? But I did make a comment when I made public comment at one of the last meetings that I would come back and address this resolution, because there are multiple problems with it. And as the gentleman here said, you better think about, you know, the enforcement and how this is worded, the language. I'll run through it real quick. First of all, each speaker should provide his name and address. I introduced myself last time as Donald Duck because that's a joke. I'm obviously not Donald Duck. My name's Austin. I live in Tyrone Township, but I certainly am not going to give my address in a public hearing that's being broadcast on the internet. That's absolutely absurd. I don't hear everybody else giving their address at every single meeting. To me, that's an intimidation tactic. There may be people that want to speak that don't want to come up, and now they feel like they have to. I was interrupted the last time and asked for my address, which I'm not comfortable giving in a public setting. Anybody privately, I'll tell you, it doesn't matter. This is merely a suggestion. Groups or attendees should designate a speaker. You don't have to do that, that's just a suggestion. Each speaker is given 3 minutes, subject to extension at the discretion of supervisor. Go ahead and extend somebody's time and see how that would be enforced. It wouldn't be possible. Speaker's comments shall be directed at the board. That is also a request. I'm here, here's the public, I can talk to anybody I want to. That's what a public meeting's for. I can address you guys, the public, anybody in the room. So if I turn around and talk to the public, am I gonna get kicked out? Am I in violation of your ordinance? Are you gonna fine me? And as far as recording, that's already been addressed, but the other thing I will, this is a public building. It could be recorded at any time it's open to the public. There's a section down here, it says no recording before, during recesses, or after the meeting's adjourned. Once again, if it's open to the public, it's open to the public. I can stand in the hallway, I can stand right here. If I'm not blocking anybody, talking over somebody, interrupting, being what would be considered disorderly, there is an MCL state statute that covers disorderly conduct. Read it. Nothing in here is in the state statute for disorderly conduct that would justify that. So I would second that you should consider revising and amending this to comply with the law, because enforcement of this is just absurd. That's really all I need to say. I mean, I only got 3 seconds. I'm glad the new township or the old township building's over there. Thank you for that.
Anyone else? Motion to adjourn?
So moved. Support.
It's been motioned and supported to adjourn. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, motion carries, meeting's adjourned.
Do you have any fun outdoor activities for our spring weather?
Almost got my car.
I don't. The sun, honestly, maybe better than the warm temperatures. For whatever reason. Yeah. And maybe this is because we have to have it for so long.
Yeah, well, you go 10, 12 days without the sun.
Because I noticed I was driving after the football season. Everybody else was also doing that.
So I was going to ask you.
Yeah.
Does the
Honestly, I found that my point.